So over there is this Parish Fields not so healthy centre, and you can certainly get stitched up there in more ways than one. Treatment room 7 full of bogus diagnosis and monster black lies. The first mistake Parish Fields made was with my dad. He was 50 years old, 6'3", 6'4", you know, big guy, and he wouldn't really trouble doctors. He had to be really, you know, have a problem before he'd go to see a doctor. If he could crawl and get in a lorry and go off for Bartham's, he would. And but he was feeling pretty rough, so my mum said, "Come on, you got to go and see the doctor." So he did, and he saw Gregono, and he said, "Oh, you got glandular fever." So okay. Then time went on, he got these lumps under his arms. "Oh, you got lymph glands." Okay. Still feeling rough. "Oh, I think you got an infection, flu." So fair enough. So he can say he carried on working, and then one day collapsed off the back of a trailer. And what he'd really got is Hodgkin's disease, and had they caught it early, he would have had a fighting chance. But because of all these wrong diagnoses and the time delay, that spread to his livers and kidneys, and that was game over. And so he gave him 6 months to live, but bless him, he lasted a year. I came back from Spain to support Mum and help her with my dad. And at the end of it, it looked like something out of a concentration camp, bless him. So that was the first big mistake, wrong diagnosis. And then with myself, my first ever meeting with my GP, Dr. Hume, was in a police cell. And I was there because we'd done a bit of graffiti on the town, 18 black seds, marking up people sending death threats full of monster black lies, you know, serial killer, paedophile, rapist, and so forth. Cutting brake pipes, loosening wheel nuts, which I lost the wheel of a fully loaded works van, and then he put me in the path of a lorry. So I couldn't clear my name, £21,000, and Roland Solicitor said I had a good case of character assassination. So as I say, we marked up those behind this big campaigning disc to push it out in the public domain. So I was arrested for criminal damage, which we thought, well, it's good. Yeah, but no one would press charges because obviously they didn't want to face me in court with the press there, and back up their monster black lies, death threats, and so forth. So, as I say, I denied a solicitor a phone call, told no duty solicitors available, and then Dr. Hume comes into the cell. Now at that time, you know, people have told me he had a drink problem, and he was suspended because of it, but he did come in the cell slurring his words, and I thought at the time, did he drive down here? And he went, all he done is, he went come in, he went, "Oh, you can't stay here." So I sort of called him Mumbling Mary. And then he went out, and that took him longer to sign my detention into maximum security, solitary confinement, forced drugged at the Norfolk Bacon SS pork farm in Dr. Death's black pig pen, and that did for my so-called assessment. And that was my first ever meeting, so he kicked me right down the hole. And then I say, just for a bit of graffiti in this, and the reasons I've just explained, Dr. Kitson put more bogus diagnoses on me than on any serial killer, paedophile, rapist, black wizard, mass murderer you can mention, past or present. So, and this police obviously, you know, they'd fabricated a little evidence. They wanted me detained indefinitely, you know, making out I was such a dangerous person, which was not the case. And then so I did escape, went back to the tribunal, then I got officially released. So I wrote to Sheldon, who was the chief executive where I'd been framed and detained, who agreed to chair a meeting with me to discuss all these bogus diagnoses. And I say I had schizophrenia, psychotic, psychosis, which 3 category 1 diagnosis, which is unheard of for one person to have all 3 category 1 diagnoses put on them, you know. And you can have delusional, paranoid, personality disorder, you know, they can just, you know, load the full book on you. So anyhow, Sheldon agreed to chair a meeting with me and Dr. Kitson so I could contest all these bogus diagnoses. But Kitson refused to attend it. And the only person I could see was 6 months later his right-hand man and Dr. Crook, right pair of crooks. And obviously he was going to back Kitson up. So that was it, I was buried. So I'd got all the monster lies on one side of the coin, and now I'd got all the bogus diagnoses on the other side of the coin. So they really made a right monster out of me. Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, you know, get in the back of the queue, Freddy Krueger. So that's where I was left. I was left just buried in this black box, and you know, as time went past, tried every way through the Healthcare Commission, every way I could to contest these bogus diagnoses. You can't get anywhere. And the thing was too, they would say to me, "Oh, you haven't got any insight into your illness. We can see it, but you can't." But I could see right through their Steve Wright, you know, monster frame and all that bogus diagnosis. That wasn't the case. So years passed, and then I say, I was completely buried, ostracised in the community, completely set up. And then, you know, on the job centre, when a pilot flew a plane load of people into a main because he hadn't disclosed he had depression, and a dust cart guy run over a load of people in Glasgow because he blacked out and he hadn't disclosed that. They made a law that you got to disclose everything on employment application forms. Well, who's going to employ you when you got more bogus diagnoses, you know, than any serial killer, plus all the monster serial killer lies? And so the jobs, 16 months I was on the job centre, they had no solution whatsoever. Job centre advisors, obviously they're out of their depth. So I wrote to the DWP resolution team, who contacted Kirsty, and said if I contacted them again they would report me to the police. So I said, well, to Kirsty, and I have carried on contacting them, but I said, well, they can if they want. This is a police frame, you know, disc council, you know, Dr. Death Silver Bullet whom, you know, frame. So anyhow, I go back and I say, right, you've got to, you know, get me another opinion, you know, because I'm absolutely dead in the water, you know, as far as employment is concerned. So Dr. Hume says, well, actually, you know, this is sort of like 18 years have passed and you're buried, and officially there is no cure for schizophrenia. It can be treated through medication and all that sort of thing, which I've never taken any drugs, which I refused to take. I was forced drugged, or I was framed and detained, but I refused to take drugs after that, which they said I'd relapse in a very short time, which never happened because they were bogus diagnoses. So Dr. Hume said, well, actually, I think those, you know, the diagnoses are wrong, you know, on your medical report, and I'm going to remove them off, you know, my report. So I said, well, it took you less than a minute to kick me down a hole, and now it's taken you all this time, which I've said all along, and you said that me contesting these diagnoses, denying these diagnoses, was just part of my illness, which I was just saying, no, these diagnoses are bogus, they're not correct, they're not right. So I said, well, what do I put on an employment form? He said, well, just say you had a psychotic episode. I said, well, I didn't have a psychotic episode. You know, I had a clear reason why I did what I did, you know, what was going on at the time. It wasn't a psychotic episode. And I said, if I put that down, I said, people have had psychotic episodes and killed people, so, you know, I'm no further forward. So anyhow, I went to job centre, sent me to the GP at Ipswich, and he said, how did you get here today, Johnny? I said, I drove here. He said, you can drive? I said, well, of course I can drive. You know, I drove vans, 7.5 tonners, forklift licence, reach truck licence. He said, well, if these diagnoses were correct, you couldn't function on that level, so that don't stack up. Then he said, you know, what medication you're on? I said, I'm not on any. Yeah. He said, well, that's impossible, because if these, you had these diagnoses, you could only manage them through psychotropic drugs. So this don't stack up at all. And he said, most people come here with all the excuses why they can't work. You're coming here saying you can work and do the jobs standing on your head, but no one will employ you, Just when they see all the bogus diagnoses, that's without all the monster black lies too, that any workplace you go into, people soon spread and phone up companies and where you work, and then the lies, monster lies, soon start going round. So so I went back to the experts and said, look, my GP is now saying all your bogus diagnoses are wrong, and the job centre GP is saying that these don't stack up. And they said, well, they're only GPs, they're out of their depth. So if a GP is out of their depth, where does that leave an employer, people in the community who believe in all the monster lies? And like I say, I was living over at Burston, so you had two midwives from Parish Fields who lived in Burston. Then you got Julie Russell, who's good friends with Mrs. Winterbottom, bless her, who's sort of Radio Burston. And all the monster black lies crawling out of the Black Well on Crown Green at Burston. Then you've got Corbyn's, Garnham's, Harper's, all harping on, with their monster lies, all working in the health centre. You got Melton Kids, Mrs. All the Skelton Road, some of the Skelton Road assassins, Mrs. Talbot. So monster black lies, one big black virus, that's infected the whole town, big serial killer virus that's infected everybody. So finally I did get a consultant with John Keane and show him all the evidence and all the bogus diagnosis, and after two hours he said, Johnny, there is nothing there at all. Now, I was never cured, I was never healed. The truth of the matter is that they were never there. So he said, you haven't got to disclose anything. And he also said, market towns like this, in his experience, are the worst for these kind of wicker basket frames where they weave monster lies for a community to, set somebody up, assassinate somebody. And so that was it. I didn't have to disclose anything, so it gave me a fighting chance on the employment front. But then I went to say recently to Crown Chicken Wadebridge, monster lies came in there. Engineers, friends with Skelton Road assassins. So I lost my job on nights, got moved onto the day shift. The managers there collaborating with the police, and they want to put me in a big Crown Chicken black box and send me off to the Norfolk Bacon SS pork farm, Granswick pork farm, Dr. Death's black pig pen. So Parish Fields, and when I contested all this to MP Knobhead Bacon, what was going on at Parish Fields, I was banned from Parish Fields because I emailed the MP and mentioned Doctor Who and some of Nick Woods and co, and some of the stuff that had been posted online, and the monster lies that were going around this, coming out of the Parish Field Not So Healthy Centre. So I was banned from Parish Fields. So then I had to go to Lawns healthcare practice, which is also part of this building here. So when all this was going on recently at Crown Chicken Wadebridge and Granswick and police collaboration, that led to my suspension and a 15-day bogus investigation, and then my immediate dismissal, but not one word in writing. But during this time, Dr. Pantasi, he called me in and he showed me, the Nazi SS Norfolk Bacon email he'd received. And it's like, run, Johnny. Sinister things are, really going on here in the background, which they have been all the way through with the police wanting me to disappear either in a black box or, obviously just take a big hit. Now the other thing, see what you're up against before, these were removed off my medical report. And like I say, officially there's no cure for them, but they have all now been removed off my medical report, because they are just words on a bit of paper. Now you could give me a white coat and I could sit there all day long. writing schizophrenia, bipolar, personality disorder, psychosis, psychotic, delusional, paranoid, whatever. You can write those words in less than a minute, but those words will bury you for life. And the thing is too, how serious these diagnoses are. I mean, there was a BBC programme where it was called How Mad Are You? And they wouldn't put schizophrenia on the show, anyone with schizophrenia. But there was 3 experts who could observe people, I think it was about 12 people. Some of them had diagnoses and some of them didn't. And they had to see if they could discern which ones had a diagnosis and which one didn't. And the only one they got right was a guy who was obsessed with cleanliness when they cleaned out a cow shed. The person they said was the most A1 and the most, well-sound person actually had bipolar. And the person who was the most A1, so forth, they said he'd got bipolar. And that's why they wouldn't use schizophrenia on the show, because if they diagnosed somebody wrong with schizophrenia, I mean, it's like a consultant telling you you've got terminal cancer. The implications would have been too great. But the whole big danger is, for instance, in Canada, if you have additional diagnosis with schizophrenia, you're not allowed to live in the community. You're classed as a category 1 danger, risk, threat to everybody, every man, woman and child. Because every murder, so there's 100 murders committed by people who are category 1. So if 100 people are killed, 95 of those people will be known to the person who's category 1. That'll be their partner, children, family members, friends, people they work with, people they live with. Only 5 will be random. So that's why you are considered such a danger and a risk. And in Canada, you're not allowed to live in the community. You're only allowed in the community under supervision, which is fine if you really are a category 1 danger and threat. But like I say, I could write those words as anyone could in less than a minute. So if you want to frame somebody, if you want to bury somebody, frame, fix, assassination complete, just a few words, 7 words, and that's it. You are buried for life. That anyone could write in less than a minute. So anyhow, that's just a little bit of how you can get completely stitched up and buried alive. And that's also what Dr. Hume said to me the last time I spoke to him over the job centre thing about making disclosure. He said, Johnny, if you make disclosure on employment forms or anything, if you go public with this, the hole will only get deeper. And I said, well, that can't get any deeper. He said, no, it can get a lot deeper, a lot darker, a lot blacker, and you are in a black box. And I said, well, the only person I know in a box in a hole is someone who's been buried. And I literally had been buried alive, and that's where I'd remain for forever and a day. And that was before Sandringham and Norwich got mixed into the black fix. Then the frame really got deeper, darker and blacker, being pushed by Norfolk Police. Simon Bailey and his blonde-haired, plainclothes lover, Dr. Hume, Schaefer turning over a Burston, discounts are all their spies and cronies and informers and this. So that's the one. Anyhow, God bless, keep safe. I hope that you don't have to go into a health centre anytime soon, and you avoid this killer virus that's out on the loose. But as I said, there is no serial killer here, as people want everyone to believe, or paedophile, or rapist, or ripper, or black wizard, on the loose here. And as I say, I do disappear, and if you stay, you're surrounded by assassins, and if you leave, you're the Black Panther on the prowl, which, as I say, has never been the case. Anyhow, God bless, keep sweet, and we'll speak again soon. Bye.